So I have a couple questions to ask you. Have you ever gotten into an argument with your sibling and always thought that you were right? Have you ever gotten a bad grade on a test and tried to blame your teacher? Or have you ever underperformed your expectations at a sports game and then blamed a teammate or a coach? You see, there's a reason why we can all relate to these scenarios. It's because we all have egos. Now, if you don't know me by now, I eat, sleep, and breathe soccer. It's all I want to be doing all day, and I want to be really good at the game. Now, while I can dribble through multiple people at once, and I think I have a pretty good shot on me, there's just one really bad quality I had as a player. Whenever my parents would ask me before a game, "Are you mentally prepared? Are you ready?" I would always respond with something like, "Yeah, we're going to kill this team. I'm going to score 6 goals. It's going to be so easy." Now, after the game, when I'd get in the car, I would slam the door shut and immediately look down. I would say to myself under my breath, "Whoa, I just scored 0 goals and we just got smacked." And the worst part about this is we'd be on the way to the hospital because I would have a fractured wrist or a broken ankle or even both. True story, by the way. So I always thought that this was just my confidence showing because all my coaches always told me that confidence was key. But I started to realize something. Now, no matter how much work I was putting on and off the field, I was never improving at the same rates that my teammates were. This could have only been one thing. Yes, folks, just like your perception that you're undefeated in arguments against your siblings, or that your teacher was responsible for your bad grade on the test, I was a victim to my ego. So what is an ego? An ego is your inflated feeling of pride in your superiority to others. Some synonyms to ego are arrogance, cockiness, and overconfidence. So how do you differentiate between your ego and confidence? My first answer to that is how you're able to take advice. Your ego develops a one-way bias in your head. Therefore, you would think that everything you're doing is always the best, or that you're always right. And when you are in the wrong, you try defending yourself. When driven by your ego, you also tend to live in past successes or worry about the future outcomes too often, which studies reveal over half the average person's day is spent doing so. Picture it this way. You're a chef at an Italian restaurant, and last month you prepared a perfect chicken parmesan for a customer. They complimented you on how nicely it was cooked, how perfectly it was seasoned, and how it just melted in their mouth. But for the past 2 weeks, you've been getting back-to-back complaints on how the chicken's been raw, maybe it's too salty, or how the breading on the outside is too soggy. Now, instead of taking this feedback and criticism and turning it into something positive, you immediately go into denial. You start saying things like, maybe your taste buds are off, or maybe you're having a bad day, because I know I can do this right. Yes, you got it right one time, but how about the rest? Your ego is holding you back from improvement, and improvement leads to greater outcomes. Now, for all you social butterflies out there, this concept of ego versus confidence can apply to you too. Most people love it when someone is funny, well-spoken, and flat-out confident. But the second they get the sense that you're trying to one-up them all the time or brag too much about yourself, they immediately find it as annoying. This can apply to dating, friendships, and even relationships with your family. So the main way to determine this is your ego or confidence is to analyze if you're constantly seeking for validation from others. So now that we know how this can affect your performance, to your social life, let's take a dive on how this can affect your mental health in a negative way. But you may ask yourself, how does feeling superior have anything to do with mental health in a bad way? Imagine this. You're a student in high school and you have straight A's. You've never gotten a B in your life. You're bragging to your friends about how easy you think school is, and you think you aced last week's math exam. The day of the results are coming in, and it's finally your turn. You turn to your friend and you say, "Yo, I bet you $20 that I just aced this exam." Your teacher comes up to you without a happy look on her face, and the paper's folded over in like an upside-down cone like that. Trust me, I know the feeling. It happens to me all the time. Now, you open the test, and you see a C- in the top right corner. The emotions immediately start to flood. You're confused, you're upset, you're frustrated, and you're flat out angry for 2 reasons. One, because you just lost $20 to your friend, but also because you thought you would score so high on this test, and you don't know what went wrong because you did so bad. You see, since you're used to succeeding all the time and you set your expectations so high for yourself, You don't know how to take this failure and turn it into something positive. You let your emotions overtake you. When we're controlled by our emotions, we can't think straight, and we tend to lash out at the ones that we love, which, trust me, never ends up well. So, this is the reason you've all come out to see me talk, and this is the part you've all been waiting for. How do I utilize my ego for my own benefit? No, it's not a task you must complete or something you check off the checklist, but rather a state of mind you must reach in order to start seeing results. Now, you can go on your phones right now and look up on Google, Bing, or ChatGPT, whatever you use right now, and you can look up, how do I utilize my ego for my own benefit? But I'm about to tell you the 3 best ways to do so. First is to meditate. Now, probably to some of you in the crowd, this isn't very appealing, and definitely wasn't appealing to me at first, but scientifically and through personal experience, this is the best way to gain control over your mental state. My dad, for the past 3 to 4 years, has told me every day, Sean, you got to meditate 5 to 10 minutes every morning. First thing, before you do anything, just you, your thoughts, no sound, no distractions, no phone, that's it. Now, because my ego was so high at the time, I never wanted to listen to him, but that's also because he was my dad. So I never really tried this out. But a couple months ago, I decided to give it a shot. And instantly, I started seeing improvement on the soccer field, in the classroom, and in relationships with my family and friends. Second is to practice gratitude and kindness 5 to 6 times a day. Now, this can go from something as little as holding the door open for someone, or saying thank you to the waiter after you get your food at a restaurant. But this allows you to gain a sense of accomplishment without having to dwell on it in the future. Finally, is to take responsibility for your mistakes. Now, from personal experience, this is probably the hardest of the 3, but this allows you to start identifying the problem because that is the first step in solving anything. Now, you'll always want to fall back on your past behaviors and habits because you want to deflect the blame on others because it feels good. You never want to know that you're in the wrong. But trust me, this works. Now, we must all remember that the goal here isn't to completely kill the ego, but rather to utilize it and limit it so it doesn't control our everyday thoughts, emotions, and actions. By taking responsibility for our actions, practicing gratitude and kindness, along with meditating each and every day, this will allow us to create an environment around us filled with more kindness and greater opportunity. So, I ask you to strive towards using your ego as a tool for growth and progress rather than a source of division amongst others. Thank you.